Well, hello, everybody. I am just some dude on the internet, but you can call me Steven.
I'm just some dad.
And I'm just some uncle.
Well, welcome, everybody. The focus of this conversation, my father says that Gene has quite some stories from growing up, and I didn't really know how to facilitate that conversation because I wasn't there for that time period. So my dad is going to help me facilitate this. Dad, what do you think? Where should we start with Gene? How would you introduce Gene's?
Well, how would I introduce Gene? Well, I would say that Gene and myself, we're kind of best buddies. Maybe more so now than whenever I was a kid. I might have been a bit pestilent. I was born in the 60s. He was born in the 50s. That is kind of the mid 1900s for people that don't really think about that stuff. But anyway, one story kind of comes to mind, and it was a mistake of a window. Anyway, it was kind of a dark summer night, and heard the tap at the window. Yeah, it sounded something like that. I go up to the window and I peek through the curtain, and lo and behold, there's a couple naked girls out there. Now, keep in mind, I was 8 years old, so that was kind of a new experience for me. As far as Gene goes, he was 13. I have no idea what kind of an experience it was for him, but I sent them around the corner. How'd that happen? How'd you convince these girls come knock on my window?
I was as much surprised as you. I had no idea they were going to do it.
I don't think there's any way in the world you could have been as surprised as I was, honestly.
Well, it was darker on my side, so I didn't get to see as much probably. You had the street lights out on your side.
I'm 63 and it stuck with me, so it made an impression, quite an impression.
No, from what I had found out from talking to him afterwards, this was all done on a dare. And they had dared each other. And like I said, they were a grade or two ahead of me.
Yeah.
Because I think I was still in 8th grade and they were like, one was a freshman.
So this would have actually been like 1970.
Yeah,
I would
69,
say.
70.
Yeah, something like
70s, that. Yeah, 8th grade, 70, 71.
Yeah, it was back during the time of free love, I guess. When you're 8, you just love cereal, but, what can you do?
It was surprise.
Yes, it was. It was surprise. It was truly surprise. But yeah, our era, wouldn't you say we grew up with the best music?
Best music. If we let our kids walk through the neighborhood and go play on their own all day long, parents today would probably think that was horrifying and be arrested.
We'd go to prison.
We were free range children.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, and we were kind of like, I guess, moths to a flame because we were drawn to the streetlight, right? Yeah, so when the streetlights came on, that was kind of...
Well, in the summertime, that's when we played. It was too hot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and our parents, we loved our parents very much, but what they did to us probably would have sent people to prison. You go play outside, and it's 200 degrees outside. But, we got to drink the magic water from the swamp cooler.
Swamp cooler was the coldest water in town.
It was 115 outside, and the water coming out.
Built up your immunities. You never got sick.
This magic hose was probably about, 65 degrees maybe?
Oh, easy.
Yeah,
easy.
And it was just delicious until later on in life when I found out what was in the swamp cooler. But it was cold. It helped us kind of keep going, huh?
And you could cool yourself off.
Yeah, exactly. And you grew moss, because moss in the yard, that's where the green slimy crap grew.
Now, there is a story that comes to mind whenever I hear Gene's name that I would like the both of you to elaborate on. I remember you telling me a long time ago, and you tell me if this is correct, that you were walking by your school and you had some guys put you up against a chain link fence and they had a revolver. Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
Close, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to toss this microphone back your way. Sorry, we only got 2 microphones this time, but we'll fix it next time.
Ritter Junior High School, Tempe, Arizona, 1970-71 when I was in 8th grade. And one morning we had to ride the bus to school because what it was, Ritter, they were building a new junior high, so they brought kids from different areas. And this was kind of like an experimental school where...
It's like Fight Club, really.
Well, they handed you a contract and you had to sign a contract. And if you got that contract done within that 9-week period, before the 9 weeks, you could do any electives you wanted to do. Languages, auto shop, metal shop, wood shop, any of that stuff. Speed reading. It was just work at your own pace. But one day I come to school and stepped off the bus, and this kid, I'd never met this kid before, and he comes up and he opens his army jacket, has a 357 Python, Colt Python.
How big a barrel? Just like a 2-inch?
Full size, 7.5 inch.
That's not real concealable, but
Ribbed Python, chromed Python. And I looked at him and I went, what the hell's going on? You beat up, I can't even remember the kid's name now, but you beat up this guy's brother.
did you beat him up?
Didn't even know him. Never had met any of these kids till that day.
So you just had a guilty face when anybody said anything that was...
Well, I just had somebody that accused me of something.
Ah, okay.
Needed an excuse.
Yeah. So it probably was them.
Well, these guys, the night before, they had broke into Dad's Safeway store. It was open, and they'd stole a bunch of stuff, and they had seen him and didn't catch him. Greg was the kid who told them that I had beat his little brother up.
So Greg obviously did it.
Right. Well, none of these people lived in our neighborhood. They all lived in South Tempe.
Tell me a little bit about Tempe before you continue on with this. Back in that day, I mean, it's not the Tempe it is now.
No, we lived in North Tempe, so we lived a block south of McKellips Road and like 2 blocks east of Scottsdale Road, and that was the Tempe-Scottsdale border on our side. So we had Laird School, so that's where we went to grade school.
Mm-hmm.
But there was junior highs. There was McCamey, which
was on Broadway.
And Mill, just south of Broadway. There was Gilland Junior High. I went to Gilland. I got bused to Gilland. When we first moved there, we were all supposed to go to McClintock High School because it was the new high school that was just built in like 68, 67, something like that.
State of the art, I'm telling you right now.
No, that was Marcus Deniza.
I'm talking for the 60s, though.
Oh, yeah. So 7th grade, Gilland. Then they changed the boundaries and was building a new junior high. So they took people out of all these junior highs that would go to this new junior high and put them in Ritter Junior High, which became the Ritter building at ASU. But it was a grade school back in the 50s, and it sat on the southwest corner of University and Scottsdale Road. So that's kind of the setup.
Yeah, it's real small. I mean, and
yeah, there was like
maybe Flour Mill. Was it even working then, or was it?
Yeah, it was still working then. Right next to it was a gas station. Dana Brothers Dodge dealership was next to it on Mill Avenue. Mill Avenue was cool. I mean, it was all hippies.
Well, that's where we went in junior high school, to the jock shop.
Yeah,
remember? And you got
Happy
your jock
Trails.
shop. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, the Boston stores where we bought all of our PE uniforms because they printed them for every school in the Tempe School District. They printed our baseball uniforms.
Yeah, I played for Big Surf.
Yeah. But anyway, that day I show up at school and I get off the bus and he presents this gun and he's hiding it, and they force me out in the field. Well, I'm looking around and it's like everybody in the school is following.
But there's no supervision.
Yeah, not a teacher in sight. The furthest corner of the field in the fence, and pulls out this big Bowie knife. And the night before, they had broke into FedMart and stole the gun, the Bowie knife. Somehow they got a set of handcuffs, ammunition.
They were just a great group.
Yeah, all this stuff.
It was a different time.
Yeah, exactly.
No cameras around.
Yeah, exactly.
So he pulls this knife out and puts it to my throat, and they handcuff me to the fence with my hands above my head, and opens that cylinder, dumps the 6 bullets out, puts one back in and spins the cylinder and closes it. He was playing basically Russian roulette, and he started at my knees. Left knee, click. Right knee, click. Pointed it at my balls, pulled the trigger, click. Pulled the trigger again, click. Pulled the trigger 5 times. And it clicked all 5 times.
Didn't one of them have a hat pin or something they were stabbing you in the back of the neck with? Some sort of a pin, or was he poking you with a knife?
I think he was poking me with the point of the knife.
Yeah.
I was just watching that cylinder rotate and looking at the hole, you know. And when you're looking at a 357...
You can walk in it.
Yeah, that looks like a tunnel. I mean, it's, you know,
you're looking in the
it's
wrong
huge.
end.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious what was going through. So, how old were you again?
I think I just turned 14 because this was the end of the school year. I turned 14 in April, and we got out of school, May 29th at that time?
So you're 14 years old. What year is this?
71.
1971. 1971, you're 14 years old, and somebody that you've never met before says to you, you beat somebody up. And you think to yourself, why do you have a gun? And next thing you know, did you say they handcuffed you? Or did they
Well,
just
they
brought the
walked me
handcuffs?
out to the furthest part of the field. This is, like I said, this is a school that we had a track and a football field. And so I'm out in the farthest corner, and the fence is like 8-foot chain link.
It's all buildings now.
Yeah, they tore it all down. It's ASU bought all of it.
I'm curious what was going through your mind at that time as you're saying that he's pointing this at you. You've watched him put a bullet in it, and he's clicked it 5 times.
I'm praying I don't get shot. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, if I live through this and I ever find you, your picture will be on a milk carton. Nobody ever hear from you again. I was pissed. and you know, and in 8th grade, I think I was like 5'7", had like a 29-inch waist. I was in pretty good shape. I could grow a goatee, and I ran track and field. I was on the 440 relay team and stuff. But, you know, like I said, you look at that gun, and when he first pointed at my face, like I said, that barrel looks like a tunnel. So they do all that, and, you know, and on the 5th pull, I'm thinking, I'm dead the next one. You know, I beat the odds.
He's just going to lift it up and shoot me in the head or something at that point.
And so then he stopped. And he didn't do it. And then they put the knife back against my throat. And then they unhandcuffed me. And, you know, I told him, I said, look, I don't know who your fucking brother is. Greg I'd seen around school. Ronnie, if he went to our school, he never showed up. And turned out he was like 17 at that time. Eugene seen at the school a couple times, and he was like 17. They had flunked out so many times, you know, it was like... They should have already been sophomore, juniors in high school.
Uh-huh.
They let me go and shit, and nobody said a word to the teachers. Nobody, it was like Fight Club, and they're all around kind of cheering it on. It's like, you know, and I'm looking at
you were almost
and I'm looking at all of them while this is going on, you know, and it's like slow motion. And
so were any of them your friends?
Everybody in our neighborhood that went to that school that
Nobody said anything.
I walked straight from there to the principal's office, and they wouldn't believe me. I begged for them to call the police. Well, finally, you know, they sent me back to class, and these guys had split. They had left the school grounds. So I went back to class, you know, and back then we had no cell phones. They wouldn't let me make a call from the office. I said, call my parents, call the police, call somebody. We get on the buses and go home. Joe lived in the neighborhood on the west side of Scottsdale Road called Cavalier Hills.
Yeah, over by Sherry, huh?
Yeah, he lived like 6 houses down from Sherry on the same street on Cavalier Drive. He got home before I did, and so I get home, and I come home, and my mom's waiting for me at home. She goes, I just got a call from his mother, and she said, you were held at gunpoint and stuff. And I broke down and crying. I told her everything that's going on. 2 doors down from us, we had a Tempe police sergeant. He was a bomb squad expert, Sergeant Hanna. My mom went down to his house, and he was pissed. And he had the Tempe police at my house in like, it seemed like 30 seconds. So they made a report, rounded up those guys. They all got kicked out of school for the whole rest of the year.
Ooh, that was big.
Hell yeah. So I show up freshman year at Tempe High. They're the first 3 people I see at Tempe High. They graduated them and promoted them to high school. So now I have to go to high school with them. So
now they're 20.
Yeah, 18. Greg, God, I cannot think of his last name, but he lived over by Ladmo of Wallace and Ladmo. He lived
I don't
like
think Steve knows
17th
who that
Street.
is.
They were cartoon hosts, kids show.
An icon. Let's just be real.
Yeah. Arizona icons.
Right.
The hangout at high school was called PDQ, and shortly after that changed to the Buffalo Barn, but it was like
PDQ.
the restaurant where the Tempe High School had our school colors right across the street from the school. That's where everybody hung out. About halfway through freshman year, I come out to go back to class after lunch, and Eugene was sitting on this wooden fence that divided PDQ from the gas station.
Were you a little taller
corner? About the same height. I'd grown to about almost 6 foot.
A little stockier.
Yeah,
though.
put on some weight up to about a 32-inch waist, 33-inch waist. But I put on height and weight over the summer because I'd got my dirt bike for graduating 8th grade. So all summer long,
he was
I
spoiled,
rode.
everybody.
And I was off in the dirt riding and running and getting in shape, you know. And I had thought about that all summer. So about halfway through the freshman year, I come out from eating lunch and I'm walking back. Eugene sitting on this fence. And he's got this great big afro now. And he jumps down. He goes, "Hey, White." He said, "We didn't get in any trouble. Look," he goes, "I'm back at school. Nothing happened to us. Juvenile record. Nothing's going to happen. What are you going to do about it?" And I looked him in the eyes and I told him, I said, "Well, you ever touch me again, you'll find out." So he walks up to him and he starts to chest butt me. And as he walked forward and stepped in, I grabbed him by that afro and drove his face in my knee about 45 times.
You dropped him, huh?
Dropped him right there in bloody pile. And I said, "Next time, you won't get back up."
So now, did you get kicked out of school for that?
That was off school property.
Oh.
Nobody reported it.
The violent era.
Randy and they're just laughing.
Yeah,
at
he
me.
was useless, though.
Yeah, well, until we found Greg. So then that summer, I'm out riding and stuff. And, well, see, freshman year, remember, Randy had got hurt in summer of 8th grade trying to jump his motorcycle
he had
across
it,
town.
broke his leg
He
and all
missed
that.
almost the whole freshman year, so
Yeah.
he didn't come back
Yeah, he
till
was
the end of
messed
the
up.
year. Sophomore year, I guess those guys had still been hanging out during the summer. They had been screwing around. I guess Ronnie had run over and killed somebody accidentally, which caused him to totally change and got a conscience, basically. So sophomore year, he was the first person comes walking up to me, and he apologized to me for everything that happened.
So was he sincere about it? You think?
And he was very sincere. He broke
That's
down.
good.
I accepted his apology, and we weren't friends, but
There was no vendetta.
there was no vendetta.
All right.
Now, about 6 months later, we're on some school break. So Randy and I are down. There's a pizza parlor that's set on 9th and Ash in Tempe. And so we had driver's license then, so we were driving.
Was that the Buffalo Barn, or was that?
No, the Buffalo Barn set on Broadway.
Oh,
This
okay.
was down
Yeah.
on University.
Gotcha.
We were at the pizza parlor. Greg walks in. Carrie is our waitress, and we're underage. First girl I took to my very first high school dance. So she's the waitress in there, and we didn't see him walk in, and she comes up to us, and she goes, "Gene, Greg just walked in. Please don't do anything at the restaurant." Because she was serving us pitchers of beer underage. So she didn't want to get in
So
trouble.
were you planning on doing something then once you knew?
Well,
Or were you going to wait till you got outside?
me and Randy are sitting there drinking beer and eating pizza. And she said, "Greg is here." And Randy popped up. Man, he set that beer down and he looked and he saw him. And I said, "Randy, I promise Carrie we won't do anything in the
Oh,
restaurant."
yeah, and you lose your free beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Greg come in and he's sitting at his table. And I guess he looked over and he saw Randy looking at him. And then I looked over, Carrie was sitting over, and she's looking at Randy and looking at Greg. And I told Randy, I said, "Leave him alone." I said, "I promise, Carrie, we're not going to do anything in
Well, at
this
least you were a
restaurant."
man of your word,
Yeah,
right?
we're not going to do
Yeah, okay.
anything. Randy goes, "I won't do anything."
I need this beer
He goes,
connection, God.
Well, he goes, "I won't do anything in the restaurant." Carrie takes Greg over a to-go box, and he's hurrying, putting his shit, and he's walking out. And as he opened that door, I couldn't stop Randy. Randy was up, and he was gone. And he was on fucking Greg at that door. Didn't touch him, but he was at the door. And Carrie goes, "You promised." And I said, he said he wasn't going to do anything in the store. He said he wouldn't do this. "I'm sorry, Carrie, I'm sorry." So I said, "I'll go get him." And I jumped up, and they're going out the door. I go out the door behind them, and she's behind me. I hear the door slam and lock.
So now technically you're clear because you're outside.
Exactly. Now we're
Okay.
outside in the parking lot. He's in an old 60, must have been like a 65 GMC pickup truck, kind of like Fritz had.
Yeah, nice truck. I actually like this.
And had the big
The step side?
No, it was a
fleet
box,
side?
fleet
Okay,
side.
yeah.
So Randy comes out, and I told Randy, leave him alone, leave him alone. And I walked up to him, and I said, you remember me? Yeah, I do. I said, why'd you say that I beat up your brother? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's begging off and trying to half-heartedly apologize. And I told him, I said, well, now it's just me and you. No two friends, no guns, no
So you kind of
knives,
leveled the playing field.
no handcuffs.
Yeah.
I said, just me and you. Let's go off to the side here, over on the side where we're not in the parking lot. And he goes, no, man, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. I said, I didn't want to fight you guys either. I said, I didn't have a choice. I said, you don't have a choice.
You can stand there and get beat, or you're going to fight
Yeah,
back,
I
right?
said, we can fight right here, or we can fight behind the wall. No, man, I ain't going to fight you. I ain't going to fight you.
I'm just going to hit you.
No. Before I could get my next word out, I feel my shoulder. Randy's behind me. He kind of brushes by me, and he's on him and has him on the ground now, and he's pounding on Greg. And so Greg kind of flipped Randy over because he was a little taller than Randy, but Randy was, I mean, for a little guy, he could fight. He was scrappy. I mean, kind of the strength like a chimpanzee, little guy, but strong.
He
And
wasn't loyal.
no. Greg gets up and starts running. So I start to go after him. He just starts jumping fences in the neighborhood over backyards. And I go, fuck that. I'm not going to jump fences. So I went back over to his truck. He had left the key in his truck. So I broke the key off in the ignition.
Well, at
In
least
the
you could get
accessory.
home. Oh, you put in an accessory?
And broke the key off.
That's funny.
Tossed the keys in the bed of the truck, and I grabbed the stick shift and bent it clear down to the floor, and then stood on it and bent it
Didn't
over
you
the
take
hump.
the radio out of there, too?
No,
Oh, I thought you guys did. I thought
No.
you broke his radio or something.
no. His stick shift. So if he did get it started, he couldn't shift it.
That was just mean. But
And-
I like it.
And
It's
closed the
creative.
door. And then Carrie comes out and she goes, you guys better go. Somebody called the cops. I said, was it you? No, I didn't call him. I said, can we come back in and have our pizza and finish our beer? No, you promised me this wouldn't happen. I said, you know Randy.
And well,
So that was that story.
now did they ever let you come back for beer again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back then,
After every ASU football game.
how did you dress back then? And what, hair and all that? I mean, we're talking the 70s, right?
Long hair, bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Grandma would take my bell bottoms and cut horseshoes because with my boots, I would always walk the backs of my
Now, were you wearing combat boots or were you wearing the boots with a buckle on them?
strap boots.
Yeah.
They were called back then gaucho boots from Brazilian cowboys. Had the strap with the
Right.
square buckle on the side,
Yeah.
square-toed. Basically a square-toed cowboy boot for a gaucho.
Now, I think I got one other story that I would like to hear some emphasis on. Back in the day, I believe you, Father, said that it was Halloween night. Some shit went down, and Gene was really, really pissed off. Some people were against you, it sounded like. And the result was Gene drop kicking these people's door, their car door, as they drove away in fear. So I would like to hear that story from the two of you.
I'm kind of sounding like a thug on these stories.
Gene was actually a good bad influence. I would call it.
Well, and that was a bad day because that
Well,
was
I know what kind of day that was. Yeah, and this was we lived in a cul-de-sac back then. It was a Crocus Street, right?
36th Street, 1 block north of
Yeah,
Thunderbird,
so it was Crocus.
Crocus.
Yeah. So
House on the corner.
What year?
this would have been 1978 or something like that. Yeah, I think 78.
Yeah, because
How
Melinda
old
was
were you?
born in 79.
I was 16, I believe. Yeah, I was 16 years old. 'Cause
I was 21.
Yeah, so to make the story totally accurate, all right, I'll give you a few just first names that we had. Now I'm going to give you all their names. I don't really care. It was my buddy Chuck, my buddy Carl, Now, at the time, Carl's legs were about as big around as my wrist. I think he was breakable.
Well, and all three of you guys were out in the front yard
right.
practicing karate.
We're just messing
Slow
around
motion.
and
Jumping off the wall.
And you got to understand, too, that this was back in the day with CB radios. So if you were really...
Bruce Lee was big.
Yeah, if you were really a good CB guy, you had a PA, too.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a PA.
And a siren.
I had a PA underneath my hood. And so Gene was in the house, and my dad was just ripping him a new butthole. And why is that? Because you and Sherry were what? Pregnant.
Yeah, about 6 months pregnant.
Yeah. So Gene's in there, and he's getting chunks of his ass are flying off inside the house. And we had a little sister, too, that she's 11 years younger than Gene, 6 years younger than me. And these guys come driving by, and Carl and Chuck and I were standing outside. Gene's in the house. The garage door's open, and this car comes by, and they have, I think, 3 guys, and they have
a girl,
couple girls.
Yeah,
in
the middle.
Girls originally.
I think it was 4 guys and 2 girls in the middle.
Yeah. And so anyway, these guys, they come rolling up, and keep in mind, Gene's getting fired up inside, and he doesn't even know that he's gonna come in handy in a minute. But I'm standing out there, and this guy goes, "That's where she lives." I go, Who are you talking about? Because I only knew Sean, and
Our sister.
our little sister. And so then this guy says some kind of derogatory, terrible remark. So I get on the PA because he's starting to drive away, and I just go, "Fuck you," like that. And it echoes across the neighborhood. And I look at Chuck, and I go, "This guy's coming back, man." And so what he did was he went down the street. He went down to Thunderbird.
Circle K at 32nd Street in Thunderbird.
Yeah. And so he dumps off the girls, and then those guys come back. And there's 4 guys. And so anyway, I'm standing there in the yard. I'm holding my ground. Chuck's right there with me. And then I'm looking, going, oh, crap. We have to use Carl as a weapon because his arms and legs are so skinny that he's just going to break. So and there's no help. We might as well use him as a weapon against all of these guys. So these guys, sure enough, man, they come pulling up. And guys got a chain and other
pipe.
Yeah, pipe and stuff. And I mean, it was 4 against 3, right? So I needed to equalize this because I looked at Chuck and I thought, you know what? We could probably withstand a couple blows from whatever these guys had, but Carl's a dead man. So I run into the house, and I run up there, and I grab the doorknob, and I open the door, and I go, "Hey, Gene, oh my God, there's 4 guys out here. They got chains, they got knives, they got pipes, they got everything." Gene, and my dad just gets like his last word out. Gene launches up like a rocket. I'd never seen anybody move so fast. And there's a word for what happens, and it's somebody that's kind of like they're just there. They're right there. They're right now. It's violence of action. That's what it's called. So violence of action, you just make a decision, and you're going with it. Well, your opponents are freaked out because there's one of you and there's 4 of them. And why are you running at them like a maniac, right? So that's what they did. It's called violence of action. So anyway, Gene gets up, and he comes running past me, and he's screaming. I don't even know what he's saying, but these guys seem to be taking note of what he's saying. And I remember I'm running behind Gene because now I have a chance, man. So I'm getting involved. Chuck's going to get involved. Carl, he's staying out of the way because he's going to get broken by one of somebody. And so their car's still running. It's in the street. Well, this one guy, he runs. He's the driver, grabs the door and goes to close the door. They're parked, what do you think, 8-10 feet from the sidewalk?
Here's the street.
Yeah, well, they can't see that there, but I see.
Well, a regular street with sidewalks.
Yeah.
They were parked across the street against the sidewalk, facing west. Our house faced north on the corner. So I run out of the double garage, down the driveway.
He's moving like I've never seen him move so fast in my whole life. But the funny part of the whole thing is that the driver grabs the door, and as he's closing the door, Gene leaps from the sidewalk. And I mean,
on our side of the street.
Yeah, on our side of the street. He flies like kung fu across the thing and lands on the guy's car door as he's shutting it, and his 2 feet cave in the door, right?
Crushed it.
Yeah. It just, and I mean, I was so proud. I couldn't believe it. This man, just the fact that he could clear that much ground, land on a car door and crush it and land on his feet. Well, all of a sudden, you remember the one guy goes, "I've got a gun." And then you go, "I got one too." And you reach behind your back, but you didn't have anything.
Well, and the other guy goes, "I got a pipe right here." And I said, "If you got it, you better fucking use it because I'm going to fucking kill you."
But the guy that said, "I have a gun," you reached behind your back and you said, "I have a gun."
I told him you use it or die.
Yeah, but Gene didn't really have a gun. There was no gun. It was a bluff. And then that guy kind of looked up. Gene backhands him and lifts him off his feet. You remember that? And he went between the door and the window and made it all the way over on the other side. I never saw somebody get slapped right off.
And then the guy with the pipe, he goes, "I got a pipe," and he's in the back seat. And I said, "You better use it. Grab it now." And he went to grab it, and I just grabbed him and yanked him through the fucking window. He might have been the same guy that then I backhanded over the car.
No, that was 2 different guys because the driver's like,
Oh shit!
yeah, they got to get out of there because they're dying. Well, my mom and dad, I remember mom going, "Please leave, my son will kill you." Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, and so we're sitting there, and Gene and I, Gene's got a hold of the driver, I got a hold of the door, and the guy took off.
And he has to make a U-turn.
He
He has to make a U-turn in the cul-de-sac and come back by us.
We had to let go or die at that point, but so we ended up calling the police.
Well, they went to Circle K and called the police too.
Yeah, but we didn't know that.
Right.
They left, and these guys
Someone help me! Someone beat the shit out of me when I said I was going to assault them.
Yeah, it's exactly the way it was, and so we call the police, and you got to understand, your grandfather, he was in management at the time, and he was pretty well spoken. When you say, I mean, he was pretty even
and he was only 41, so at that time. So.
Yeah, but he could hold his own too.
Oh, yeah.
And what was so funny is the police show up, and I remember Mom going, "Oh, thank God the police are here." Well, it wasn't our police; it was their police.
Yeah,
because a separate cop came for us. Remember?
Right.
Yeah, and so this cop comes up to me and he's going, "What happened? What happened?" And I go, "My brother Gene." And when I said that, he turned and he goes, "You're Gene?" And he's going to arrest you. Remember?
Yep.
And then Dad steps in, and the cop tells him that you better go sit down because I'm going to arrest you.
Right. He told my dad, he goes, "You shut your mouth and turn around and leave or I'm arresting you." And Dad, first time I seen him really get pissed off, and he goes, "You're going to arrest me for what? What the fuck did I do?" And I looked at him and went, "I never heard him say that word."
Yeah. So with that, we're doomed because they were trying to make it like criminal damage on the car.
Well, remember, they made those kids, they came back and they parked in the same spot. And the cop that, when he says, "That Gene," and he goes, "What happened?" And I told him, I said, "My brother and his friends were out in the yard goofing around, doing slow motion karate moves and stuff. And these kids come up and for some reason decided to assault them. Got out and had chains and a pipe and were going to beat my brothers up. My younger brother, Steve, ran into the house, said, "Gene, there's 4 guys out here with weapons that are going to attack me and Chuck."
Gene knew Carl wouldn't live.
Yeah.
So he had to come.
So I'm going to defend my brother. So I went out to defend my brother. He goes, "They said you caved in their door." I said, "They told me they had a gun and were going to shoot me."
I remember we had another cop show up.
Another cop showed up, and he comes up and he asked, he said, "I'm here for the call from," I guess my mom must have called. So then the 2 cops kind of talk, and so then they kind of put the 2 groups apart, and one of the cops from his car talked to the other group, and this cop that came from them, and the cops my mom called are talking to us.
And keep in mind that at this point, they're ready to arrest you and Dad.
Right. They're going to arrest me for assault and property damage and some type of threats.
Yeah, it was
intimidation or something.
Yeah, they threatened you, so you had to intimidate
So,
them. That's
so
right.
the cop that my mom called, that's there with their cop talking to all of us.
Did he know Dad from the store?
Well, I don't know if we might have found that afterwards, but he's talking to us and he's looking at that car door and he keeps looking down at my shoes, and I'm wearing a pair of shoes that's called Wallabies.
Yeah, they were real. Had the rubber cement gummy soles on them. I remember those.
It was
I had
like
those.
gummy soles with suede leather tops.
And about two lace holes at the
Yeah.
time.
And they were comfortable and easy to walk in, had a wide toe box on them and stuff. They were
But the
accomplishing.
sole melted off right
The
in front of
sole
you.
would melt in the summertime to the streets. But then from where you bent your foot, after about 3 months, that from bending it back and forth like a piece of steel, it would split. And then it would just pinch your foot. Your foot would you'd get all wet and stuff. But he keeps looking at my shoes and he goes, "Did you have those shoes on when they got here? They said you crushed their door." And I said, "Well, I wasn't going for the door." I said, "I was going for the driver." I said, "He was running back to his car to get a weapon." And he goes, "Well, run me through what happened." I said, "From what I can remember," because it's like I went into
5
this.
or 10 minutes have elapsed at this time. The memory thing back then, because
Well-
it is the 70s.
Well,
So
no,
could have been
it's
drug
the
use in
point
there.
of I got to that point of almost like hulking
blacking
out.
out.
The whites of my eyes would turn red, not bloodshot, red.
Oh, yeah. I saw that a few times, actually.
And it's like I kind of blanked out and went into, like Steve said, I'm in attack defensive mode of you're not going to hurt my family, you're not going to hurt me, you know.
And I just got chewed out for getting my
Yeah,
girlfriend
and I'm
pregnant,
not
so
in
I'm
a very
trouble.
good mood anyway.
No.
So he goes, "Well, explain to me." I said, "Well, I ran down the driveway. I remember jumping up and coming down as he closed the car door. And I said, I landed where you see the dent." And he goes, "You were wearing those shoes?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "No way those shoes could cause that much damage." And we're talking, this door looked like a car had hit it
Oh, it
and
was
punched the
taco.
door in. It busted the window that was rolled down inside the door.
It was violent.
You know?
Yeah.
And he
It
goes,
wasn't really a bad car.
He goes,
when it
"I don't think
showed
those
up.
shoes could do that." He goes, "I think that door is already damaged." So now I'm thinking, oh, cool. He's on our
We
side.
know it was damaged,
You
sir.
know? So coming back, they basically got those kids to admit what they come up and did. Our sister at that time, Sean, was only 10 years old at that time. You know, so it was like they were at the wrong house looking for the wrong person and fucked around and found out.
I was going to say, and they got fucked up in the process.
Yeah. You know, they threatened to attack us. They were the ones that produced weapons. We had no weapons at all except fists and feet, you know,
The power, my friends, of fisticuffs. That's what that is.
of adrenaline.
But thank you very much for joining me, Father, just some dad,
Just some uncle.
and I am just some dude. Thank you. Until next time.